it's another day of saying hello to you, Mark. All right, mate, how you doing?
I'm very well, Dan. Lovely, lovely, lovely mood I'm in today.
Well, it's been a cracking day. Why wouldn't you be in a good mood?
Well, I wasn't travelling inland to visit any public sector offices. That's always a bonus. But I feel happy. Happy,
It
happy.
makes
Beautiful day here today on the Costa del Sol.
Today I thought we could talk about your good self, actually, and to work out why you came to Spain. First of all, why you came to Spain, why you chose Spain, but why a bar as well.
Oh, sure. There you go. I wasn't expecting that. I thought we were going to talk about tapas again. Are we ever going to talk about tapas? What?
Meatballs?
Meatballs. Well, I've been here for just over 22 years, come up 23 now. And back in 2002, I arrived basically with a bunch of money. And I'd sold my stake in quite a successful London West End bar. But as a lot of people will know, in the 90s in London, it was quite a interesting time to be in certain types of industries. And the best to describe it and keep it clean was I was living the life of a rock and roll star without the fame and the money. So I decided I needed a change. I looked at the Caribbean, particularly the island of San Martin, which is half French, half Dutch. And I also thought about going to Holland. But in the end, seeing my parents had something down here, a house down here, I used that to visit them to do a fact-finding mission. And I met an agent who was very, very nice, as they tend to be, because they're trying to sell you something. And I stayed in contact with him, and the opportunity came to sell my stake in my business in London. And I just came over. And that was that, really.
Curious to know how many times you'd been over previous.
Well, I'd never really been to the Costa del Sol. I said my parents had a place the other side of Estepona, down here on the coast, which is the other side of Marbella, if anybody knows this part of the world. And only never really holiday down here. I visited them a couple of times, but just like a long weekend. Been to Madrid, Barcelona, and places like that, but never really holidayed on the Costa del Sol. When I did first come here to do a fact-finding mission, I did think this place was right for the taking because it did seem to be stuck rather in the 70s. But when I actually bought my business, I don't think I was prepared how stuck in the 70s it actually was.
So badly stuck in the 70s, did you find, or just with one foot in?
I would say it was 1 foot in the 70s, 1 foot in the 80s. I still couldn't believe the karaoke culture was so big, but it was everywhere. It wasn't done particularly well. Bars were advertising the fact they were showing Emmerdale and Coronation Street and EastEnders, which I thought maybe naively coming from London, maybe egotistically as well, that there was a market for something slightly different, a market for a bar that played different type of music. Yeah, wasn't showing the soap operas and wasn't showing every single live game of football with the volume up. That was a little bit trickier than I anticipated, to be fair.
So when you had seen what was going on, when you had been a couple of times and maybe kind of guessed what you wanted to do or given an idea of what you wanted to do, was it clear the concept of bar you wanted?
I think a lot of people have this kind of dream of a bar by the sea, a bar in the sun. It's kind of a stereotype. But with my experience and what I had seen here, of course, you haven't have an idea. One of the biggest shocks to me when I arrived here was how expensive everything had got. Because I'd previously visited when it was Peseta, and the month I arrived, the euro had just come in full time. So as you remember from living here and the price of a cup of coffee and things like that, it wasn't only a cup of coffee. It was real estate and business properties as well. They must have gone up 30 or 40%. So much to the extent that I was almost, after 3 or 4 days, on the verge of packing in and saying, right, I'm not. This is not for me.
Because you couldn't find the place you wanted, or was it just that the prices had changed so much that it was putting it to sort of stretching the budget too much?
Well, when I first came over, I contacted an agent online. I contacted 3 or 4 agents online, and only one got back to me with a kind of a personal response, and he sent me his buyer's guide, which was really, really good. The other ones will fill this form in, we'll get back to you. So as I was coming to see my parents, I said, look, I'm coming to see my parents who live up the coast. How about one afternoon I'll pop into your office and you can give me an idea what I can buy for 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. So I have an idea. Then I presumed I'll just get back in my car and just drive around, look at a couple of places, just give me an idea of what you're getting. And he'd broken down roughly rents and things like that, overheads. When I got to his office, he had a free afternoon. He said, come on, we'll jump in my car and we'll drive around. So we drove around most of the kind of famous resorts on the Costa del Sol, Torremolinos of the world. And we actually parked up in front of the bar I actually ended up buying. And he goes, this is a shame you're not here now, because this bar upstairs here on the first floor, the most amazing views, is being run by a gay couple who've never run a bar before. They've lost their money because they've converted this basically a flat into a bar, but they don't know how to run a bar, right? And they're living inside it. They're on the verge of going bankrupt. And I go, that's a shame. So I just shrugged my shoulders, went away. And then 6 months later, I came back. And after 3 days, I said to this guy, look, I think I'm on the verge of giving it up. But one thing, remember that bar we pulled up outside? And you said, it's a shame you're not here now. He goes, oh, I think that must have sold. I haven't heard anything about that for months. He made a phone call and it was still on the market. The guys had gone back to the UK and left it in charge of the builder who it seemed must have ripped them off with the reformers or the refit for the actual place itself. And we went in and had a look at it, and I literally bought it on the spot.
Okay.
Clearly, obviously looking at the contract first.
So you ended up buying the bar, made the decision, got the bar. What did you find was the biggest hurdle at the beginning? What was the biggest stumbling block that you knew it wasn't going to be easy, but you didn't realize it was actually going to be that tough?
I think it was, once again, maybe me being a bit arrogant or maybe egotistic, that I'd come from cool Soho, London, and come to the Costa del Sol. And clearly it's not going to be the same, the Soho and the Costa del Sol, but I didn't realize how different the dynamic was with the type of kind of people you were going to get in. I wasn't used to the package holiday maker. There was an all-inclusive hotel very close to where the bar was. I wasn't used to dealing with families. I was used to dealing with, minor celebrities and kind of media people. So that was a bit of a shock. One thing that I did find very hard to start with is I've always built my businesses on my personality and being good and a gracious host. And then you get to know someone, and then a week later they're gone. I'll give you the greatest example of that. On my first week, we opened up. It was the first game of the World Cup, of the 2002 World Cup. The same week, I think, or the week after, Mike Tyson was fighting Lennox Lewis. And this gentleman walked in. He's about my age. And he was a big boxing fan. He asked me if I was showing the fight. And then me and him got chatting. He was a boxing fan. I was a boxing fan. We just talked all day long about boxing. Then I found out he owned a record shop. I'm a huge music fan. So we were like long lost friends. Every night he would come in and he would sit there, have his 3 or 4 pints. We'd shoot the gun, talk a bit.
Shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
Shoot
the breeze. There we go. And then suddenly on the Sunday, the day after the Tyson Lewis fight, I remember him coming in about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I said, "Oh, you're early today, mate." He goes, "No, we just got to catch the coach, so I shake your hand and thank you for a wonderful holiday. If it wasn't for your bar, I don't think I would have such a great time. And I'll see you around." And this was kind of pre-Facebook, kind of like those super mobile phones. It was all, and then the following day he wasn't there, and it was just like, oh, this is a bit awkward. This is a bit strange that you meet someone who would have been a customer for life if I'd been at a bar in his local neighborhood. And I found that quite difficult to adjust to.
What about the stumbling blocks, for example, with the town hall, with licenses, with getting set up, with opening licenses, and things like that? How difficult was it for you to do all of that?
But for that's another one. It was a very different time. This is pretty very different doing this process now than it was before, because it was still very, hate to use the phrase bandit state, but it was back in 2002. And it wasn't done very professionally. We paid to have an opening license. And next thing you know, nobody came to inspect us. Nobody came in anything. And we went to chase it up. And they said, no, we've got no paperwork. But I said, we've already paid for that. Yeah. And we didn't. And you just presumed it was being done. So we ended up paying for it twice. The lawyer we paid to check the utilities for like water and electricity didn't do that properly. So we had our water cut off. We had a bill outstanding from the previous tenants. The license eventually came through 2 years after we applied for it. But okay. you eventually you get your usual. There was a woman who I think she still works around the town hall here, and she came in to do her health and safety inspection, and she was literally here for 5 minutes and goes, "You need to paint that, move that, and that's that. And then she never came back to inspect if we'd done those things. I think the most laughable one was that we had to have the food handling certificate. And this guy came in, he was from the town hall, and he was like, oh, there's a course once a month in English. And by this stage, I didn't speak Spanish, or very little Spanish. And he said, but don't worry, what you can do, you can just pay me €60 and I'll give you the form. I'll put down you went to the thing. Because you've done it before, yeah? Oh, yeah, I did it in the UK. Oh, that case, it's not a problem. But he gave me, my wife, and my friend, the three of us, all a certificate. And none of us attended that course. I was very bizarre because I was on the first floor with 4 units below me. And so we had a private terrace, so we didn't have a terrace tax to pay. But when I arrived here, they used to base their terrace tax on how many tables the terraces had, not the square meterage. And I remember going seeing one of the bars downstairs. And I go, well, what's going on? Why haven't you got 2 tables out or 3 tables out? And they said like 8. Oh no, the town hall coming down today to look at our business. So they were basically being charged with terrace tax based on 3 tables when they usually had 8 or 9. I mean, those kind of things have changed, but it was very, very eye opening, but no different to any local authority. In London, I had various problems with bars there, with not with licenses and things like that. That's usually pretty set in stone. But various things with opening hours and things like that. It's the same all over the world. Here, maybe slightly worse. And that's been generous.
How do you feel about? I mean, I know that rivalry is always it's always there in a lot of things. There are bar owners that when a new bar owner comes in, a new bar opens, they go and see them. They go and have a few drinks. How you doing? They get to know you. They create kind of rapport, and they welcome you into kind of the community and give you a bit of a push and good luck in that. There are others that see you as a threat, and kind of. Like cats with the claws out. How did you find that at the beginning?
Well, that was an odd one as well because I'm a firm believer if you've got a collection of 4 or 5 bars together and they all tend to do well because everybody goes to that area. As you point out quite correctly, there's a lot of people get jealous and of various things. I set my stall out very differently to the businesses below me, but on the first night we opened up, I invited all the bar owners downstairs. When they finished up, come out, buy them a drink. Now, on that very first night, about midnight, suddenly we had like 40 or 50 people walk through the door. And some coach had arrived at the hotel next door and some pub, I think it was called the Highwayman or something like that, in Solihull, Birmingham or something like that, had turned up and they were looking for their first drink and we were the only place open. And it was brilliant. And suddenly I thought I was getting the calculator. God, every night's going to be like this. I'll be retired by the time I'm 35. And what I didn't realise was the other bar owners were there. Everybody's kind of mingling, everybody's kind of shaking, they're talking and stuff like that. I came to work the following day or in the morning to clean the bar up. And one of the bars downstairs had a huge sign saying, the so-and-so welcomes the Highwayman pub from Solihull. And what I is one of the owners is no longer connected to that bar, long gone, had said to the guy, you bring them into my place and I'll give you 3 drinks. Yeah, so you realise straight away what you're up with. We also had a case with the hotel reps from the hotel next door. They really liked our bar. We had kind of free PlayStation and lots of board games and things like very different to the other places.
Yeah.
And they did their best to help us. So the World Cup was on and they were telling people, oh, if you want to go to the bar, there's a really nice bar upstairs. They got 5 TVs, really, really nice people. And then one of the other bar owners downstairs, the same guy, went to the hotel and complained to the manager that we were giving them free drinks to bring people around, which is what he'd basically done to this guy. And they just send people around because they like the bar. I don't believe in doing things like that because it's why if you need to do things like that, you might as well give up.
I mean, on the odd occasion, you know that it's nice to be able to go, if they've spent some money, you go around and say, do you want one on the house? Or something like that. But to go out of your way and say, listen, no, all your drinks are on me just because you send me people, it sends out the wrong message, really, doesn't it?
We've had that a few times over the years. My bar was predominantly a tourist bar to start for the first 6 months to a year. Then I quickly realised that the money was in the locals, be it the immigrant locals or the expats, what you want to call them, and the Spanish, because there's a lot more of them all year round. But still, over a period of 6 or 7 years, you get reps coming in from various hotels. Oh, we're a team of 15. And I tell you, if you give us discounts, we're going to come here every other night. And you're like, well, okay, thank you. Off you go. Total off. But even in my last 6 months, it just proves if you've got a decent place, people come to you. We have a holiday village up the road with us. So people who know this part of the world will know what that is. A place with the elephants outside it. And they had a team of, I think, 30 or 40 Brits working over here. How they got visas, that's a topic for another video. But they found the bar and they loved the music. They loved the ambience. They loved that it was predominantly Spanish. And they came out there because they loved the bar. And that's what you want. You don't need to sell yourself. But of course, you look after them. They came in a group. You give them a round of shots. A couple of ones who came in regularly, buy them a pint here and there. Of course, you look after them, but there's no need to sell your soul. No, because it's just a bit class if you ask me. You're running a business.
If you're doing a good job, then people will see that. You don't have to go out of your way to make people think you're doing a good job. You need to be doing a good job, and that's it. Kind of on a similar topic as to something that I went through today, the experience today that I'm going to share another day. So you've gone through or bitten off the claws as they came out and dealt with that. What other would you say would be obstacles for people? What's the advice for someone that's like comes over on holiday, looks at a bar and goes, "Oh, I want to do that. I see myself doing that. I've never done it before, but look, I can pull a pint, I can do a drink, and I can cook some toasties," kind of thing. What kind of advice would you give someone in that situation?
Oh, I personally say don't do it. That to start off the bat, I mean, it really is a lot of hard graft. I mean, as I said at the beginning of the video, I was in that bar 22 years, just over 22 years. And I've never worked as hard as I've worked in that bar, but as I worked in the UK, for example, just to keep it afloat. And I had a successful business. I'll give you an example. The guy who came and did our pest control, a guy called Nigel, who's now retired. The first I got to know him straight off the bat when he came and did the pest control. And over the 22 years, he's always come back. And every time I see him, I go, "What have you been doing today, Nigel?" And he go, "Oh, I've been doing a bar down the port." And I go, "What is it?" "Oh, it's a British couple." I go, "What are they doing there, Nigel?" He goes, "Baked potatoes, toasted sandwich, English breakfast, pick your own item." He's a bit of a people's person. She can cook a mean Sunday lunch, and they're going to put all the sport on. I go, "How long do you give it?" 3 months ago. I mean, we had that conversation probably 15, 20 times over the years. And unfortunately, of course, we were joking, but there's a lot of truth behind that too. To illustrate how hard it is here, I mean, I came from London as a person who knew the business inside out, yeah? I'm very good at his job, and I struggle, right? Maybe the reason I survived is because I'm very good at my job and I could crunch the figures and make the business run properly. But I'm on the top floor and there's 4 units below me. In my 22 years here, I saw 66 different businesses below me.
It's a lot of rotation.
It is a sad story. And one of the things, what people don't realize, I mean, now that the cost of living between Spain and the UK is closing somewhat. Not, I mean, still there's a big difference, but it's not like it was when I arrived here in 2002. It was almost 150 to the pound then. So when people come over here, they see the price of the rent. They go, "Oh my goodness, that's like so cheap," right? And of course, what they didn't realize, they can't charge £4 for a pint. At the time, they were charging 150 or €2 for a pint. So it's all in relative to that. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who has a bar in London, and we had the same beer on draft. And we were making the same amount of money on a pint, but just in different scales. His barrel was twice as much as mine, and his price was twice as much as mine for the pint. But we were both basically making the same profit margin. But people don't realize that, and they think it's going to be easy because they think it's cheaper. But it's not cheaper in many ways. And they're not prepared to work the long hours. When I was looking for the bar originally, we pulled outside another business, which is now a pretty successful bar. And the agent who was there, he goes, "You won't believe this place. This has been bought by a couple who are both fell in love in a hospital in Luton, I think it was. One was an ambulance driver, one was a nurse. They had a dream to open a bar on the Costa del Sol. And it was an Irish pub. And I go, "But are they Irish?" He goes, No. He goes, "They're so not Irish that last week they forgot to celebrate St. Patrick's Day." When you buy something in the UK, it's more expensive to buy a leasehold or definitely a freehold. Whereas here, it's more obtainable, so you don't need so much money. Yeah. And they think, "Oh, I can do this." But it is long, long hours. And if you're not prepared to put in the graft, you're not going to succeed. It really is a case of you have to have preparation, determination, discipline, and organization. If you haven't got any of those four, you will fail.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was in the catering industry and the service industry for a long time. Worked in different bars, restaurants. Was a maitre d', barman, cocktail barmen, all kinds of things, DJs, everything. So yeah, been around in that environment for a long time, and seen just how certain people think, yeah, I'll put the money in, but I can walk away, and they're putting that business in the hands of someone else. They're not running it themselves, and all of a sudden the business is folding, and they're wondering why. It's because they're not involving themselves in something that they believed at the beginning that they could do and they wanted to do. But do you think that the situation in the UK, on many occasions, people just get that fed up? They see the brighter side and the greener side, and think, yeah, I'm just going to get away because I can and I've got the money. I'm just going to sell up and go. Do you think that's a bigger influence than really the actual attraction of the place?
I think so. Yes. I mean, there's always you notice. Yeah, you'll notice the same thing that you see people. They've made the move over here, and they're always almost like convincing themselves that the move's right every day, be it on Facebook or social media. They're putting up a picture of the view or talking about the weather, trying to convince themselves. But they didn't come here and embrace the culture. They don't come here and embrace the language. And they think, oh, it's so much grass is so much greener on the other side. And maybe they're swayed by these TV shows, the places in the sun, and these ones when people open businesses in Spain. But people don't realize how difficult it is. And if you've never worked in the bar before and you turn up and you can't even change a barrel, or you'll make there was one near us recently opened up and soon disappeared. And they set their prices from day one almost the same prices as Manchester. It cost themselves selling prices pints for €7. Well, every other bar has it for €3.50 or €4. And surprise, surprise, they didn't survive.
Surprise, surprise! You said it.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
I mean, how many times have we seen it though? How many times have we seen it? Someone comes along, yeah, but the thing is, my atmosphere is different, and my decor is different, and I'm going to be doing this different. You can do it as different as you want. The wheel's already been invented. It's a place that everyone that comes here knows what they're looking for. There are a select few places that can get away with charging a euro extra or €1.50 extra on a pint, or maybe even a stretch €2 extra on a pint because of where they are, because it's right next to a hotel or it's in a hotel or whatever. But generally, you can't. You've got to play the game. You've got to be competitive. You've got to be, especially if you're on the main street, you're on street level. You can't mess around too much. Faff around, I was going to say. You can't mess around too much with the pricing and the business style.
But people get into price wars, and all they're doing is eating into their profit. And we had it over the years with the bars below me, and they're like, one's charging €1.20 a bottle, the other one's charging €1.10 a bottle, and they're like, haha, laughing at each other. It's just, you just don't need that. You just need to get together, sit down, say, we're all in the same boat. Let's all charge €1.50. And everybody makes money. And someone sits on one terrace and sits on the other, but they're all fighting for scraps a lot of the time. And it does turn, you do see the uglier side of people. But it is a tough industry to be in. And if you've never done it before, some people aren't prepared for that kind of slog, and they take everything so personally. And it did. I mean, we had the bar below us many years ago, and these two Spanish guys, and they tried to obviously jump on tag onto my coattails, and they opened up, and they were giving out free drinks to people turning up in their cars outside and stuff like that. Their bar was banging all this house music banging out, right? But it wasn't a very well run bar. They were drinking too much of their own stock, and they were definitely living a Colombian lifestyle, should we say. So their discipline wasn't there. And one day they were open, one day they're shut. There was fights down there, there was problems down there was drugs down there. And I was consistent. My bar was always busy, always busy. And on a Sunday afternoon, we used to play this beautiful mixture of blues and old 50s and 60s music and a lot of Tarantino and movie stuff. We had the most wonderful atmosphere. And I walked in the Sunday before they closed down. And from them playing like boom, 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 boom music at like 4:00 in the afternoon, suddenly they were playing Motown, right? So they suddenly thought, oh, cool, but it's just down to the music. It's the music. We're playing the wrong music. And they panicked and started trying to copy my music. But by that stage, it was too late, and they went bust the following week. But that kind of illustrates it. You kind of stick with your own ideas. You can stick with what you think will work. If it will work or not, sometimes depends on the area. Sometimes depends on what hotels or what kind of clientele is in the area. But I wouldn't say it's a lottery, but you are the destiny of your own success, really.
Yeah, if you're paying attention to your own business, which is what you should be,
Yeah,
you're paying
definitely.
attention to what's happening around you, that's where your success is going to be because you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you can lose sight of it very, very quickly and it can go downhill extremely quickly. Mark, thank you for sharing that. I believe this kind of conversation, we've got loads to talk about with regards to business and not just the clientele side, like the conversations about providers, about the big companies and how they play games, and the bars play them for stuff as well. So there's a lot more to talk about that and to cover about that. What we're going to do is park this one for today. Good speaking to you, mate. And by the way, if you want to have a little join in the conversation, if you want to comment, if you want to share, please share. If you want to comment, down below, comment, let us know what you want to know about running a business in Spain. Not just a bar, but a business. What's needed? What do you want to know about? And we will endeavour to engage and bring it back to the surface and talk about it and pick the bones out of it and see what we can find out for you. And if we don't know ourselves, we'll ask someone that does.
Yeah, agree. If anybody has any questions about, I said running a bar, I got no problem giving them a straight answer. They said no, no,
Don't do it.
don't
Don't
do
do
it.
it.
That's not strictly true. The right place, the right person, you can make like me, you can make a success of it.
Yeah, you can. You can like, subscribe, share, do all those things that you need to do. And thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you another time. Cheers, Mark.
All right, mate, take it easy.